Call a meeting to order. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this city in which we live. Guide us this evening as we make our decisions. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Welcome to the March 25th, 2025 regular meeting of the Newnan City Council. You have the minutes from the regular meeting of March 11th, 2025 before you. I'll entertain a motion. We adopt those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion second. We adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. You also have minutes from the work session, March 11th, 2025. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion to second, we adopt as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. And minutes from the special call meeting of March 18th.
I'll make that motion as well.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
With like sign, motion carried. Appointments to board and commission tonight. The first, Mr. Thomason, or Mayor Pro Tem Thomason, we have an appointment to the Planning Commission.
Mr. Mayor, I have an appointment to nominate. First, I want to just thank Mr. Bob Coggin for all of his years of service, not only City Council, Planning Commission, and many, many other committees and groups throughout Newnan. So really appreciate his years of service and what he's done for Newnan.
Yep.
But my nomination is Ann Yancey.
Second.
Motion and a second. We nominate Ann Yancey to the Planning Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Ms. Jenkins, next agenda.
Yes.
Okay. And then I do have an appointment to the Tree Commission, Tree and Parks tonight. Jennifer Griffin.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. And then Mr. Critco.
As I'd like to nominate Mr. Rudy Ortega, please.
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Mr. Phillips, anything?
I do not, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I don't have anything this evening. On to new business, public hearing, 64 Wesley Street. But before we start that, I'm going to ask Ms. Jenkins to introduce our members of the Newnan Youth Council who are with us this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Annually, we have a group of high school students who represent Newnan and Coweta counties serving with us, and they are required to come to one meeting and then go back and tell their students, their fellow Newnan Youth Council members what happened, if they can. And so tonight we have with us, and please stand when I call your name, Ellie Baum, sophomore, Newnan High School, Francesca Parker, junior, Newnan High School. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate it very much. Okay, so on to the public hearing. This is 64 Wesley Street. This is a demolition application. Mr. Partain, how are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you all?
Fine, thank you. This is a public hearing that I'm opening right now on 64 Wesley Street for the purpose of hearing a demolition application. How are you, sir?
Yes, sir. For your consideration this evening, the owners have applied for a demolition permit for the structure at 64 Wesley Street. The property is within a City of Newnan Historic District, but I could not find that the structure itself had been designated as historic. Structure built, according to tax records, around 1900, so it is considered historic due to its age.
All right. Is the owner here this evening? Oh, hi. If you come forward and have a question, if you'll come forward, I have a question, and if you'll identify yourself for the record, please.
Elizabeth Ainsley Knight Campbell.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Okay, so the question I have, you're asking for a demolition. What are your plans for the lot after you?
To rebuild, hopefully.
To rebuild? Okay.
We still own the one next door, so we just want it a little nicer. This one is about to fall in because of the tenants that we've had in the past.
All right, thank you. Any other questions of the owner?
What do you plan to build back?
Do I? Yes.
I said, what did you plan to build back?
Right now it's a duplex. It'll probably be a single home.
Single family home? Okay.
What?
That was the question I got from your neighbors, so I'm asking for the
Yeah,
record. Okay.
yeah, I have lots of signatures. I've talked to everybody on Wesley and St. Clair, and I didn't hear back from anybody, so.
Thank you for being here. Any other questions of the owner? Okay, this is an opportunity to come forward and speak to this issue. This is a public hearing in favor or opposed to this particular demolition application. Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and ask for a motion from,
I'll make
to
that
approve.
motion.
Second.
motion a
I do
second.
have one quick question.
Yes,
How soon, if everybody agrees, can we get started on it?
staff, tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Is that early enough? Not tonight.
Soon,
So,
okay.
yeah, right. Okay, so I do have a motion a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it very much. Okay, the next is a consideration of contract award for cemetery master planning services. Mr.
Yes,
Craven?
Mayor Brady, members of the council, their 2024 fall retreat that we held in Newnan. You talked about myriad opportunities to enhance the public cemeteries. But coming out of there was a desire to have a master plan developed in order to make certain that all the cemeteries, we had a plan moving forward. And so as a result, city staff put out a request for proposals. We received proposals from a number of qualified firms. And a lot of the improvements that the council was hoping to see considered as part of the master plan would be things such as, entryways, signage to the existing cemeteries, enhanced softscape improvements, landscaping, et cetera, as well as the potential construction of a mausoleum and/or columbarium or niche. So the firm that we're recommending is WLA Studio. Their principal, Keys Williamson, is here. They're a firm that has worked in Newnan in the past, but it's been a little while. But I do want to take a minute to note a couple things. I'm recommending WLA Studio because of their deep experience doing exactly what this council and what the staff's looking to have done. They are not the low bidder. We interviewed, Mr. Norton and myself interviewed 3 firms, the 3 lowest firms, and Mr. Williamson and his firm, their depth of experience far exceeds that of all the other proposals and those that we had interviewed and talked with. So I want to put a pin in that, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I've included in your packet the depth of experience Mr. Williamson and his firm have working for national cemeteries, state cemeteries, cities, counties, private, public, things that historically significant, culturally significant, and their landscape architects to boot. So I just wanted to make sure I noted that, and I'm prepared to answer any question you may have, but understanding the way we like to do business and the sensitivity of our cemeteries here, I feel that it is appropriate that we consider engaging WLA and Mr. Williamson's firm.
Okay,
I see in here they are formerly the Jaeger Company.
Yes, ma'am.
That's
Dale
who you
Yeager
work
is a
with?
name you may recognize. Yep, formerly with them.
Yeah, didn't they do the?
Our original design guidelines. You got good memory. Yeah. Many years ago.
Yeah,
So,
a long time ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Like 2000.
Yes, ma'am. But yeah, you could see Pond and Company, WLA, TSW, Osmunda, Tribute Companies, Goodwin Mills, Kaywood, HGOR, and Croy. All great firms, all qualified. But again, my recommendation is that we engage WLA Studio based upon their depth of experience.
okay.
Yeah.
Questions?
Well, I looked up all 3 of those, online, kind of looking at their online presence as well, and it was impressive for, what, again, like what you were looking for, looking
Yes, sir.
specifically on our cemeteries. I did notice, like, HDOR, though, they did, like, downtown tree canopy master plans and stuff like that. That might be something worth considering at a future time.
Yeah, HGOR is a wonderful firm. We've actually worked with them. They helped design C.J. Smith Park's redevelopment as well as pickleball. They were part of those projects, so they are great.
But they're,
But
that didn't look like their specialty, though.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I returned to that.
I'd agree. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so the motion is that we accept the recommendation of WLA Studio for the cemetery services, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. Thank
I
you.
do have a question. How quickly are they going to start? I know the timeline says like this month.
Yesterday, yes. I think they're ready to go. When I talked to Mr. Williamson, he's in the office. He drove from Athens. I don't know if he could speak to the firms if they. Yeah, he'll be here with Ms. Knight. So,
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. The next item on the agenda, discussion of direction regarding cemetery burial openings being performed by a private contractor. Mr. Norton, how are you this evening?
Doing good, Mr. Mayor and Council. Hope y'all are doing well. Seems like we've been talking about the cemetery a lot here lately, but back in November, we had a discussion about shifting some forces, letting outside contractor do the burials, so we could shift our concentrations more on maintenance with city staff. At that time, council, y'all asked us to go out with an invitation to bid, and we've got those prices back. At this juncture, I'm not asking for an award or anything, just we need to change the ordinance if it is the pleasure of this body to go with an outside firm for that burial service.
So I have a question. The numbers that you have in here are just kind of call around to see what people might, I mean.
That was
is
the actual
this-
invitation to bid. It was put out,
Okay, so-
advertised.
Okay.
And if I recall, this generates a certain amount of efficiency from your group, which how would we use, how would this benefit?
Well,
Remind us of that, please.
it's going to enable us not to look at adding additional personnel in the next budget cycle or maybe even that budget cycle after that. So that's how it's going to help us.
Thank you.
Okay, so everyone understands that Mr. Norton's request this night, staff's request, is that we consider changing the ordinance to allow us to travel down this road. We're not there yet, so we'd have another look at this when the ordinance comes back to us.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important to also realize the cost difference. We're currently charging, what, Mr. Norton, $600?
$600.
For a burial opening, and the prices came back ranging from $850 to $900. You know, if that's a pass-through charge for the burials, that's a fee schedule change. So that'd be another increase. But we're certain that if we don't outsource, and if we keep it in, that's fine, but we will have to consider staffing, especially when we start taking on the full maintenance responsibilities inside of the Farmer Street Cemetery. So we will certainly have to add staffing. So that's why we're seeking direction. It's not an easy decision that we know to ask for a pass-along increase in the burial grave openings. That's why we're not asking you to consider the contract award tonight, but just direction.
Yeah, that's why I got a lot of heartburn. I mean, we went from, what, $1,100 in Eastview to now we're gonna be near $2,000. When you add in the cost of the increase in the plot itself and now increasing, opening and closing the grave, I mean, that's a significant amount of money to go to. But more so, if you're looking at how the difference was between the two cemeteries before we leveled up to the $1,000. It's a lot. And I've got some heartburn about doing that.
Okay, so it begs the question, do we even want to go through the exercise of changing the ordinance based on the numbers you're looking at?
Well, I would like to make the motion that we do consider changing the ordinance for the proposed increases that we're talking about and for further discussion.
Well,
Is that what you guys, is
the
that what
increases-
you're asking or not?
Well, let's back up a second. I think I heard Mr. Norton say that once with the ordinance changed, we would actually go out for an RFP.
No, we've actually already done the invitation to bid, so we know what the prices are.
That's what's
Well, but
reflected right here.
how long are these good and how long would it take us to?
I've got a commitment for a year out of.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think it's something we need to definitely pursue, and it gives us the option to keep it in-house or to contract it out as necessary. It's not we have to, hard and fast, we're out. It's, if you can, then we can do it in-house.
The problem we're going to have is the service levels. We're already a little struggling with service levels and the expectations of the cemeteries. When we certainly add the additional cemetery on, I mean, we're looking at adding staffing. So that would be a general fund obligation, something that's, paid for by the millage rate and the other revenue sources. But, I think I identified, I had to go back to the fall retreat notes, but I think I identified 4 additional staff, maybe 6 additional staff. I can't remember what it was.
So
So you got that cost we got to consider where we would fund it as well.
Here's my comment to that, based upon previous discussions. We're moving into a time where to keep the budget, to keep from service, and not bringing on more staff, which would be really, quite frankly, since the general fund, it is a burden to the citizens of Newnan. And I think the most that and the best benefit that we can do is to minimize those costs to taxpaying citizens. And we're getting to the point we're going to have to incorporate subbing things out. It's just, that's where we are in this state and as we move forward. And I think that is what we really have to seriously consider as we move forward in many different areas, and this is just being one that's being highlighted at this particular time.
And I'm glad that Mr. Williamson's here with the Master Planning Service, because it all ties together, making sure that what's planned works with, having these other companies come in, because you can't have, sometimes, I don't know what their equipment is, maybe they're too narrow of a road for their equipment to get in, So, but I think this is definitely worthwhile going, so I'd second his motion to approve.
So we've got a motion and a second to instruct staff to move forward with amending the ordinance and bringing that back to us. But at the same time, I would like for staff to bring that study back to us with increased service levels of our own employees.
The cost of that
So
service.
that we can do a cost comparison between what that looks like and what this is.
Yes, sir.
When we have the new ordinance before us, so we can make a decision based on that.
And I'd also like for us to look at the past performance of contractors we've used for various things with the cemetery. Because the lawn maintenance, I know, is one of the things that we talked about, and that's one of the reasons why you guys want to
We were going to bring that
get
back in-house.
somebody, is
That's
to
correct.
bring that back in-house, because it has not been what we wanted
We were
it to
bringing that
be.
back in-house.
So I want to make sure that we consider that as we're talking about outsourcing this piece of it too, is the quality of which we're looking at and the value to our community.
Instructions, clear? Okay.
That's
I've got a
mine.
motion and a second. I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Nay.
A motion carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is consideration of a resolution to accept the Coweta County 2024 hazard mitigation plan. So you've got the resolution before you. If there's no questions of staff, this is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a straightforward process. It's so that we maintain our eligibility for our FEMA funding. At the last retreat, we talked about preparing a hazard mitigation plan specifically for Newnan, and that still may be an option down the road, because this particular plan, while necessary and critical, is more of a higher level plan than what we would do if we decided to go forward. I'd recommend adoption of this plan.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We adopt the resolution as presented. Any discussion? All those,
I do have a quick question. On the bottom of the page, it talks about purchasing electronic signage for the city of Newnan. We definitely need generators at the fire stations. I get all that. That's really good. What kind of signage are we talking about? I don't remember what all that is.
I'm not certain, Councilman.
Okay. All right.
but we'll find out and get it back to everybody. We'll get an answer. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. The next is a consideration of amendments to the 2024 fiscal year budgets audit. Ms. Kelsey?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Attached to your agenda materials are several FY '24 budget amendments per our auditing process. The majority of these amendments, as you'll see, are in our general fund. The amendments to general fund include increasing revenue a little over $2 million and also increasing our expenses $3.5 million. The majority of that is related to allocations of resources for our street paving projects. So council thought that was hugely important to get that done. So we will remove $1.5 million out of our fund balance. Those were important projects to get done. There are some other amendments that you'll see towards the latter part of the report that are special revenue funds. Staff would recommend approval of the attached ordinance, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the amendments as presented. Any discussion? Questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. The next item on the agenda is an annexation request. This is an annexation 2025-03 by Greg G. Rogers, 1.1994 acres on State Route 34 bypass. This is a portion of tax parcel 073B033 and .4996 acre on Roscoe Road, a portion of tax parcel 073B032, requested zoning of RU7 urban residential single-family dwelling high-density district. This is a decision to pass this referral on to the Planning Commission. Ms. Donovan, how are you this evening?
Doing well, thank you. Hope you are the same.
Good.
So the properties that you see in yellow up here on the screen are what we're looking at as far as the annexation goes. The next item on the agenda is actually for information only, and that is part of this project. It's an additional 20 acres. Those two will be combined as the overall project. A lot of you may be familiar with this. Back in 2022, there was a request for 135 townhomes that you all denied. This request here is actually for the development of 61 single-family detached homes. They're asking for RU7 zoning. Sample facades have been provided in the packet. The homes will be fee simple and consist of 1 or 2 stories. All the homes will exceed 2,000 square feet with a maximum of 3,200 square feet. The residential density will come out to roughly 2.8 units per acre. Access will be off Roscoe Road, and the proposed price point of the homes is around $550,000. Tonight is basically council voting whether or not to send this forward to the Planning Commission for a recommendation. If you all decide to not move it forward, then the annexation portion of this will die. However, if you do decide to move it forward, then I'll notify the county and the school board that you all are pursuing a possible annexation of this. I should also say that the applicant has asked that both the rezoning and the annexation be considered at the same time because they go through different processes.
Right. Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Donovan?
Just so I'm clear, they're combining both of these, this request, both these properties for about 22 acres to put 61 homes on?
That's correct.
Okay.
I make a, are you ready? Yeah, I make a motion, we forward it to the planning commission.
Second.
Motion and second, we forward to the Planning Commission as presented. Any discussion?
I do have one question. If we go ahead and do the annexation, push it on, the annexation request to the Planning Commission, will we look at these as 2 different projects? Or are they saying, hey, we're gonna go ahead if you all annex this and combine this as one big project to present to us for, at one time? Because right now it's 2 requests.
Right, and what they're asking to do is, as a whole, it will all come back to you at the same time, because the rezoning process makes us go ahead and move forward without the letter that they submitted, and because we have to notify the county and go through the objection process, they're asking for us to wait on the rezoning until they can move both of them together, because it is one big project.
So yes, it's combined.
Yes, this
Come
will
back
be
in one.
combined.
The zoning, the annexation process could probably get held up, and they don't want the zoning to move forward until
Without that.
all
Without
that
the
comes back
annexation,
together.
correct.
Is that fair?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. Okay. I have a motion and a second to move it on. Any other discussion?
I do have one other question.
Sure.
There's different things to consider with an annexation versus a rezoning, and different rights, correct?
Well, I think the request is based upon timing. In other words, your ordinance says that once a rezoning request comes in, that it comes to you for information, goes through the process. What we have here is an annexation request that operates on a different timeline.
I understand that part.
You follow what I'm saying?
I do.
So I think the request is that the understanding that how it goes with the county will determine when the hearing is held on the whole project.
I get that part.
Yeah.
What I'm asking is, will the annexation piece have the same considerations as the rezoning piece?
It goes by
Yeah.
the same standards,
If-
yes.
if-
The one project.
Yeah.
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 We
It's
will
the same
be-
test.
It's one
Yeah.
project.
In other words, the request for the annexation, but, okay, all right, the property is zoned commercial. All right, so it's just like it was the last time it came before you. The request is to rezone this from commercial to RU7. All right, in order to develop the residential development. The request will be to zone the two pieces in yellow RU7. So the two will have to go together to be a rezoning. But I think if you deny when it comes back, if you deny the rezoning, I'm sorry, if you deny the
See, that's where I'm-
annexation,
that's where I'm headed.
okay, that changes the project, and, you know, I would think at that point that the applicant, if you recall, I think, once the annexation was denied, was it denied last time? And then she withdrew?
It was.
Okay, so the idea is, it's commercial right now, but it's being proposed for a project. And if we don't go along with the annexation, the project wouldn't be done as RU7, and they would probably want to withdraw the rezoning request and let it remain commercial at this point.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I think that,
I do.
Do you see what I'm
Because, I
saying?
mean,
It's
there's
an
two different things to
option,
consider
yeah.
here that I just hit me, because you
and
asked me before.
that's
this,
what
but-
happened, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what happened
And
last.
they won't be able to get their 61 units if they don't have that additional land in there. That's part of
Okay.
the annexation.
All right.
So I still have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? The motion is to move it on to the planning commission for referral to the planning commission for the annexation request. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign. Okay, the much talked about rezoning request, RZ 2025-05 by Greg Rogers for 20.0119 acres on Roscoe Road, tax parcel 073B010, requested zoning of RU7, high density, part of the development of 61 single-family units before us that we just talked about, and this is for information only. There's no action needed on this evening, but it needs to be called out in our agenda, as I just did. So that ends the regular agenda. Mayor Pro Tem, if you will take us into a motion to go into executive session for legal
Yes, Mr.
And
Mayor,
real estate, Mr. Mayor.
and real estate.
Thank you.
I move that we now enter into closed session as allowed by OCGA 50-14-4 and pursuant to advice by the city attorney for the purpose of discussing legal and real estate. And that we, in open session, adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor or the presiding officer to execute an affidavit in compliance with OCGA 50-14,
I'm not taking.
and that this body ratify the actions of the council taken in closed session and confirm that the subject matters of the closed session were within the exceptions permitted by the open meetings law.
Second.
Motion and second, we go into executive session for legal and real estate. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. We're in executive session, ladies and